anybody that's listening, thank you for listening to 9 Nines. Mike and I created this podcast together to not only address data centers and technology, which we cover at a great deal of depth and detail in Data Center Revolution, but 9 Nines really brings it together to talk about how we're going to be using technology from a national security and defense perspective. And with that being said, we want to introduce one of our guests today. And Brian, why don't you introduce yourself to people and let everybody know who you are and what we're all about.
Well, I appreciate you both for hosting me here. I'm so happy to be here with you guys because this is an important issue for us to all talk about. My name is Brian Taef. I was originally born in Iran. I was born in a family that was religious minority. So from the day I was born, my family was persecuted against. My first day of school, and I want everybody to realize what people in Iran are going through. First day of school as a 6-year-old kid, when I went to school, they put everybody in formation like you're in the military. Both of you guys serve, so you understand formation. But 6-year-olds in America, they don't. They stand in line, they go to their class. They make you stand in line with a kid next to you. Raise your arm like you're in Nazi Germany and say 2 phrases. Dead to Israel and dead to the United States. That was the reality of my first day in school in Iran. That's the reality of every kid that goes to school in Iran.
Death to Israel, death to
the United States.
Nice.
They hate
That's
Israel.
intense. That is intense.
They hate Israel because the Islam and Jews, they've been butting heads since Muhammad started the religion. But they hate America because they look at us as this big Satan and Israel as a little Satan. Israel exists because of America. That's the way they see it. So they have 2 goals: destroy Israel, destroy the United States, so the caliphate can grow all the way to this side of the world. Well, 2000, things got so bad for my family. They told my dad, they were like, hey, you're a religious minority. We don't want you here.
What was the religion, by the way?
Baha'i.
Okay.
Baha'i.
Hey, maybe we should slow down. Let's zoom out real quick. Brian,
Yeah.
you have a pretty incredible background. You put on the uniform as well. Do me a favor and unpackage who you are real quick, other than a guy that was born in Iran.
Well, the biggest thing that
maybe that's what you were doing and I just cut you off.
I was, but the biggest thing about me that I want to be known is my life is devoted to Christ. How I am an American is reliant on that. How I am an Iranian born is reliant on that. Everything to me goes back to God. God is love. We could sit down, have a conversation here about what's going on and look at it from a point that we're like, oh, we want revenge. We want to kill him. But that's not, it's going to get us anywhere in the world. In my view, at least, the world gets better when people stop acting godly in phrases, but instead act godly in action. Christ said, follow me. He didn't say, go worship me, right? He said, follow me. Act as I do. So that's the biggest part of my life. If anybody's listening, that changed my life. I don't want everybody to have the same experience. But ultimately, going back to the same story, they told our family to leave. My dad was pretty wealthy back home. So he was like, all right, I'll bribe my way out of it. And he did. For the longest time, he did. It got to the point that all our bank accounts got frozen. We had no option but to flee. So we fled Iran, going to Turkey. It took a week long. I was 11 years old. This high of snow, we walked on for a week. We were shot at on the way by the Iranian military, knowing that there are Iranians who were fleeing Iran to Turkey. They were shooting at us, their own people. But I experienced that as an 11-year-old going to Turkey to be a refugee because my own country did not want us there. The world saw this regime for the first time, I think, 2 months ago, when they start shooting down their own citizens in the numbers that Trump administration says 32,000. I have people on the ground that I'm talking to. Everybody that you talk to in Iran has lost a family member. When you talk to that many people that lost family members, those numbers are not at 32,000. Those numbers are closer to 100,000.
No kidding.
That's the numbers will come out when all this conflict or the dust settles, and UN can go in, other countries can go in and do verification. There's mass graves in Iran right now because they're not giving the bodies back. One thing about this regime that it is mind-blowing. When they kill someone in Iran, they charge you for the bullet that they killed you with.
Nice.
So if I got shot by this government, my family wants my body back, they have to pay $3,000 to the Iranian government to get my body back.
So it's $3,000 per bullet.
Inflation
that
is
is
a bitch.
inflation. Yeah. That is evil, and that is shocking.
It is evil, and there's no other way to explain this regime because it's pure evil. In a country that's been crippled by sanctions and the economy is like down the drain, how many people you think have $3,000 to pay for their children to get that body back?
And I think it's worth mentioning right now, inflation was estimated to be around 50%, and the currency was pretty much in a free fall.
Yeah.
So what was unique about these protests, and you can dive into it, was this was less the students at university who are progressive thinkers. This was actually, call it protests led by the shopkeepers because of the economic impacts. Mm-hmm. Did students from the universities join them? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But that's what made these recent protests different from previous, sort of what do we call it, the Islamic uprising?
Yeah.
In the early 2000 or later 2000s. Yeah.
The Iranian people have been rising up throughout this past 47 years. But like you said, it's usually been the younger crowd in universities where they see what's the alternative, what's on the other side, that they can look at it, they can even touch it behind the screen, but they cannot experience it for themselves. So most Iranians that speak English, the average, the median age in Iran is like 32. So like, if you look at these people who have access to see what's going on the outside of Iran, and then they look at their own country, which has a history of like 6,000 years, first declaration of freedom came from Iran. And now Iranians have to look behind their screen and be like, look how nice Americans have it. Look how nice Canadians have it. Look how nice UAE has it. They're down the street. So when you see that, at a certain point, you're like, is this life worth it? Is it better for me to go risk my life or stay inside and live the same way I have been living? People taking up the first. I'm going to go outside, fight for my country. If I die, at least my children would have an opportunity. Because like I said, the average age is 32. They have children probably the same age as y'all's kid. They're not fighting this fight for themselves. They're fighting this fight for the next generation, because if they know if this regime continues on, Iran is not going to get any better. It's going to get worse.
No, you go ahead.
They have destroyed everything. They're not a government, in my view. They're hostage takers. Since their inception, they came in and they started murdering Iranians by the tens of thousands. I don't think in modern history, I love history, so I study history, and that's how you can learn a lot, in my view. I don't think there's a regime that in my lifetime that would be equal to the Islamic Republic in the form and the sense how ruthless and how
oppressive.
It's oppressive, evil, pure evil.
The best historic sort of analogy is the Gestapo. And it's almost, they probably took some of the playbook out of the Gestapo playbook, but what I think makes, and again, what are we trying to achieve on this podcast? We want Americans to understand from your perspective, because there is limited information, or they only have exposure to limited information about how Iran has been a problem for 47 years, how oppressed the people are. And then, ultimately, you just said the Iranian generation, this generation, is stepping up and willing to put their lives at risk, where arguably for the past 47 years, multiple decades, generations have not been willing to step up on the side of the United States to help the people of Iran. And the people of Iran are a beautiful people. You did touch on the education and the literacy rate, which is higher than the United States. I want to get to that. But I do want to hit, your history. You served, your family here. Let's give a little more to the audience about you.
Well, when we were in refugees in Turkey, we got there in 2000. We had present. The law says when you're a refugee or when you file for asylum, leave your country, because obviously your life is not safe there. Go to the first border crossing that you possibly can, and turn yourself into the UN, which we did, which every Iranian is doing till 4 years ago. And while we did that, year 2000, we go and present our case. UN accepts it. US gracefully accepted. while we were waiting for a flight to come to US, 9/11 happens. Everything stops.
Of course.
So we stayed another 2 years and a half. A stay that was supposed to be 7-8 months ended up being about 3 years. Was it hard? Yeah, because I had no education in that 3 years. My family had no option to work, so you live off the diet of potatoes and eggs. But we understood why we were waiting. America was just rocked by 9/11. So we felt that pain and we were like, all right, if you have to struggle, so be it. America is a struggle. If you want that opportunity, you sit there patiently and wait. We waited. We came to US and...
What year did you make it to?
2003.
Okay.
And when I came to US, I went to high school. Friendswood, Texas.
For where?
Friendswood,
I've
Texas.
never heard of it.
So you know where NASA is at?
Yeah.
It's a city right underneath NASA.
Okay.
It's 40 minutes
Houston area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Houston, between Houston and Galveston.
Mhm.
That's the best way.
Is there a large Persian community in Houston?
No. Oh, Houston, yeah.
There
Not
is.
where I was at. Houston, we probably have 70, 80,000
Yeah, it's
Persians.
best Persian restaurants are Houston and LA, huh?
And yeah, LA is like altogether have like almost 1 million people, I heard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's insane how many Persians are in
Amazing.
LA.
What is it going to take to get them to move to Texas?
And bring some of those
I think
restaurants
right
in.
now, most of them are there, but I'm hopeful for California. Um,
That puts you in a
Every-
minority.
every Iranian is red pilled, and there's a good population of Iranian-Americans in California. The governor's election in California this time is looking great for us Republicans. So I'm assuming
You're saying
with
most Iranians are Republicans?
now that they are, but granted, they have the mentality of a conservative, but it's the job of the GOP and the Republican Party to bring him in officially. I worked with the Republicans for the last 10, 15 years. I was a consultant on campaigns, policies, and I keep trying to advocate for this. We should have people registering Iranian Americans to vote at these events. We should have the organizers become part of the Harris County or Travis County Republican parties. I've seen mom and dads, like, just like yourself. You're soldiers, so like you can roll up your sleeve and like get to work when you need it.
We're sailors.
Sailors. Way
Sailors.
better than soldiers.
That is
Okay.
very.
My
Insulted?
apologies. My
I was insulted.
apologies.
Listen, I scored higher on my ASVAB for a reason. No, I'm joking. Go ahead. Soldiers, sailors, airmen, we all are equal. Go ahead.
But if I give you an objective, you know what it takes to roll up your sleeve and get that done. I never imagine civilians that have normal jobs, they're realtors, they're insurance agents, roll up their sleeves and organize thousands of people, not just one day, every week, back to back, back to back. That's insane. So all of those people are inspired by something. That's patriotism. The Republican Party, the conservative movement, is the most patriotic movement in America. So it's easily, you can connect this to, so like whenever this conflict in Iran ends, you have all these Iranian Americans who would put that energy into the Republican Party and the conservative movement. They're already red pilled. I think in California, you see the numbers. If we do things right, we have 5 months till election. If you register these people to vote, I think that the result will surprise everybody.
Well, I can tell you this. We'll probably have this podcast throttled down just because we talk so much about politics, just like the last one is, but we don't care because we'll cut up pieces of this and get it out.
I thought you were going a different direction with that.
No,
I thought you
no.
were going to curb it.
No, not at all. We want to, look, unleash it all. I know that we're going to interrupt you a lot because we're just,
Go for it.
so take us back. So you end up in 2003 coming to just outside Houston, outside NASA Space Center, and your family was migrated there. Was there a large contingency already of Iranians that were there that you were kind of
No.
collected to?
There wasn't that many of Iranian Americans there, but one thing we had 2 of my family members who were already here that living in America. We had 3 aunts in Houston. 2 of them lived in Friendswood, 1 of them lived in Houston. So the 2 had kids my age, and
Made sense.
it was a smaller city rather than Houston. So we were like, all right, we don't have to go to the belly of the beast because like Houston can be a little bit of scary for me right
that checks
now.
out.
Yeah.
That checks out.
Let
Yeah,
alone like
right
an
after September
immigrant.
11th, for sure.
Yeah, so like we went to that small city of Friendswood, beautiful city, great people. One thing I loved about Texas immediately was the Southern hospitality. It's so close to my culture growing up. My house is your house, what's mine is yours. Whatever is at the table, we all eat together. Like
Yeah.
that mentality.
It's very Texas.
I feel right at home. So it was beautiful. But in high school, I come to learn about history. I was like, all right, I love history. So I dove down deep in it, and I had this, I believe it was U.S. history, Mr. Gonzalez, that he was telling us about the U.S. Constitution. I'm like a 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid. I didn't know what the Constitution was. And he's telling us this, that, you have freedom of speech, freedom to buy a gun and carry it with you. I was like,
They let us get away with everything here.
Well, let me ask you this. In Iran, because I know Iraq, again, that's just because of my time, every family was allowed to have one AK-47. Is the Iranian public,
no,
as part of the
No
oppression,
weapons.
no weapons. Only the government holds weapons. It's
Gotcha.
automatic death sentence if you have a weapon. You can have a BB gun, not a real gun.
And help pave this for the listeners as well as me. When they say automatic death sentence, they identify that you have a gun.
Yeah,
No
judicial
trials.
system there is not how it is here. The court system is not how it is here. It's not full Sharia law, but borderline that. So if you're accused of something, that's defenseless. Like, so if you're the enemy of God, that's what they love to use, enemy of God. So not them, because if you're an enemy of the government, they're not looking at it as that. They're the representation of God. They're the Islamic Republic of Iran. So the Ayatollah is a representative of God to them. So like, when you're accused of disrespecting God, they kill you.
On the spot.
Well, not on the spot per se. They take you to jail and then they kill you there. If you're a woman, typically they rape a woman before they kill the woman, just so they can make sure that she doesn't go to heaven. It's a Muslim law that says if they get raped, they won't go to heaven. So like they just want to take the proper step to make sure that somebody that they're executing
And Brian, is that common? That they'll
Iran?
rape women in prison?
Yeah,
Almost
especially
all of them?
especially recently, in the last few months. Yeah, there's like evidence of that. A lot of them that were raped, that they didn't get killed, so they came out and told the stories. I have a video of this young lady on my page actually that she's saying the story from her own lips. Yeah, it's a little fucked up.
All right. Well, listen, man, I mean, there's a lot of evil in this world. You got to America. They started teaching you American history, it sounds like, when you got here. Is that what inspired you to get into the military or into politics? Or
That's
Yeah.
what I find interesting.
Absolutely.
Was that your just love of the opportunity in this country?
I come to realize how special America was. Until that moment, it was like, oh, things were shitty here, go there, and things are better. I didn't understood why it's better. Then I come to realize, oh, it's the Constitution that makes this place better. It's the liberties that we have. It's the people
Bill
that
of
put on the
Rights,
uniform, sailors and soldiers both. There's people that truly love this country and they're willing to defend it. That's why I had an interest in politics, and I went and did politics for a little while. I was like, all right, maybe it's better on the military side. And it was. People in politics, unfortunately, money and power corrupts people, in my view.
Absolutely.
People in the military is so within its ranks that everybody have their job to do, and nobody goes and try to take somebody else's position or take somebody else's anything. But in politics, unfortunately, you give people power and then you give them leeway to do stuff that they're not supposed to do. And I don't want to get too far into that because that's a rabbit hole that we
see
get
it all
into.
the time. Yep.
But to me, I'm like, I saw what we have here. Then I was like, all right, I have to do something, because this freedom that's been given to me is still are given to other people today. So somebody has to fight for it. You two fought for it. I did my part. Granted, we were talking about that earlier. I did National Guard.
But you chose infantry.
Yeah. I
Wait,
chose
what?
infantry because I wanted 34 mic. So I wanted human intelligence collector, and I speak Farsi. And the people, I have friends and mentors that were military, and they were like, all right, if you go to get that without any infantry training, most likely you're going to get shot and die. So they were like, go do infantry, come back and redo your MOS as 34 mic, and then we can send you to Afghanistan. You have both of the experiences, so your life is secure. The people around you.
Fluent in Farsi, not Dari.
Farsi is Dari.
Okay.
Basically the same thing. So if you can speak Farsi, it's a little bit of a change of dialect, but the writing is the same. The
But
words
you can
are
understand each
mostly
other.
the same.
So I
yeah.
can airdrop you in Afghanistan and you can
Yeah.
hold your own.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the goal. I go and do my infantry training. I trained with my unit for about a year. This is like 2016 at this point. I go to Rio MOS, and they're like, "All right, we no longer doing Dari."
Oh, really?
I was like, "What? Why not?" I was like, "Farsi. It's Iran. That's the enemy." They're like, "Nope." Unless you want to go active duty, and I was in the National Guard. I was like, "All right, I have 2 more years of my contract, so I stayed with my unit."
Yeah.
With Trump's first term, all the wars were winding down, so deployments ended. I was like, all right, I'll go back in politics and serve my country there, because that's important too. We all saw how important politics is 4 years ago when Biden got in. I don't want to get into politics. I don't know if this is the environment for it or not, but elections have consequences.
You can say whatever you want here.
Okay. The reason that we are here today is because of what Barack Hussein Obama did and what Joe Biden done. The Iranian,
you can't skip Hillary Clinton. She's got a hand in that.
In my view, she wasn't a president. So like she had her role, but who put her in that role? Barack did. Well, the same thing that we saw 2 months ago, Iranian people begging President Trump, hey, come help us, come help us. The same thing happened in 2009. People forget it. Same thing happened in 2009. Iranians were in the street literally chanting in English, Obama, are you with them or are you with us? What did he do? Nothing. And then he went and made a contract with the Islamic Republic, sent them $6 billion on the plane in cash, and then opened up the floodgates of money. What changed? What policies changed on the Iranian side? Because the Quds Force and Qasem Soleimani, I'll say this over and over, and I'll say this again, they single-handedly are responsible for 1,300 plus of our soldiers that were killed in Iraq alone. So why are you sending money to the government
when they just feed it to their proxies? Yeah.
And same thing again with Biden. Oh, more sanctions on Iran, but we're not going to enforce any of them. It's like, I passed a law that you can't drink water, and you drink water in front of my face, and I'm like, ooh, look the other way. Biden did exactly that. Open up the floodgates, day one. And what did the Islamic Republic do? Take all that money, go and fund Hamas for October 7th. Funded them, trained them, armed them, Hezbollah. Yeah, Houthi. It's all the way down to the cartels in Mexico. People don't realize how deep this evil organization has infiltrated inside of our own country.
So the intel corroborates that IRGC not only financiers, but military training to the, I'll give you an example.
Multiple proxies.
CJNG, which we just struck their leader, but they have known ties. Brian, as you're talking, and I've noticed this amongst all my Persian friends, even friends that came from Russia during the Soviet Union. Hell, I had one guy who was a KGB sleeper on my podcast. He lives here in Texas. And he learned to love America so much that when the KGB called him back, he told him he had HIV, thinking that they would say, okay, no, stay there. It worked. The most red-blooded American you'll ever meet. But you see so many Americans that have such disdain for this country. And I'll say the common thread is they lack world travel, which means they lack perspective. We all know I think the finest education is world travel. And you see that hate amongst Americans who don't have much perspective on a global stage. How do you feel about that? What's your reaction when they're the sense of entitlement? You give them silver, they'll bitch why it's not gold.
Trying to make sense the American left is I thought about it a lot because I can't rationalize it in my head, but the only logical explanation that I have is they're suffering from some sort of mental illness. No, I mean that. Because what's the difference between us and every other animal? It's a sense of rationalization in my view. If you cannot rationalize, you're like the animals that belong outside, not the ones here. Because every conversation that you have with them, it's about immigration, it's about guns, it's about military. Everything is emotional. Yesterday, I was on a panel on Fox 26. This guy is a state rep, and he was like, illegal war. How? How is this illegal? Because they've done this over and over, repeat this phrase over and over. And when they say it enough, they start to believe it. Who does that?
I think that you could be wrong to something. There could be a lot of mental health things associated to fear that people have. I also think that some of the traditional media groups that you have specifically hide certain elements and amplify others to try to make it more polarizing too, right? So I think that when we talk about politics, I'm a guy that believes that politics should be treated like jury duty. We shouldn't have people that are career politicians that want to go in there just for the sake of making millions of dollars. They should have people that are qualified to be politicians, and they get called to go serve 4 years, even if they don't want to. And they're not incentivized to stay there for 20, 30 years and make millions of dollars as politicians. They're there like jury duty, and they're there to serve their community and do their time and then get out. Politics is something that's evolving. We're seeing all kinds of changes and shifts in the politics right now. I think a lot of it is following media. When I say media, I mean all media. I think that what we're talking about are things that the reason why we're having this type of conversation is because the impact that technology has had and is going to continue to have on topics like this from a media perspective, as well as how we address military operations going forward, right? So I think that social media has allowed us consumers of technology to have more transparency into the realities and truths that take place in the world. In the past, things would happen in Iran, and I would only be privileged to whatever the news would tell me. Now I have social media, which isn't controlled by mainstream media, that also has the ability to let things through that they can't stop. The large strain media can't stop the production and creation of more content that's coming from people that are reaching out to you on your pages and people that are behind the lines or in harm's way that have a voice and they're using social media to carry it. So I think that technology, we're in what's this transformational life cycle of technology. We use the U.S. railway line as the first. The automation of the U.S. grid is the second. The automobile revolution is the third. And then technically, commercial powered flight is the fourth, and AI is the fifth industrial revolution. And right now, the reason why we're even talking about geopolitical issues on a podcast focused on technology is because technology is playing a role in reshaping and retransforming society, specifically the communities we live in, not just from like more transparency and visibility into the reality or the truth of the world, but the technology that's providing that is creating opportunities for people to go get new jobs. So we're using technology in a way that's going to have a greater impact on things than we could even imagine, right? So we didn't send troops into Iran. We used technology to overthrow what's happening in Iran. And I think it would be great for you to explain to us what you think is happening in Iran. What's going on over there right now? What are we seeing on the news versus what's happening in reality? And the thing that makes the difference or moves the needle for a quality of life for those people over there will be technology. The more exposure, the more reliance that we have on technology as consumers, because the technology was once controlling us, it was programming us, it was governing us. And now we have these things in our hand that allow us to get access to content that we probably wouldn't have had access to in the past, but now technology gives us access to just about everything, right? So we're using this podcast to talk about technology's impact on things like this and how I believe what happened in Iran, that military operation kind of demonstrated that AI is the most advanced weapon, machine, and tech ever used. The technology that we use that is a byproduct of these AI factories and these data centers that we build are enabling us to go get more access to information as a nation. It's improving our national security and defense. And right now, what we're looking for is what are some of the other truths that are taking place over in Iran that some of us aren't tracking? There's people that are listening for the first time because they don't know Iran, but they do know technology, right? So maybe they're going to listen to this and be like, all right, so now I'm going to understand how to tie back Iran into how this impacts their career. And that's what I'm going to always try to do is figure out how people understand what's happening in this world with the regards to technology and the way that we use it from national security or that as a consumer and how it has an impact on us for the way that we feed our families. How do we go get jobs producing more environments that allow us to have a greater AI capacity, a greater technology capacity in data centers? So now, using all that we have, what's happening in Iran, and are we happy with the changes that are taking place already? Well, what's his name? Kamimi? What do we call him? All right, that guy. He's gone, right? But his son is in. Is that a good thing?
No, it's not. And I want to hit, you brought up one point for the viewers, because the left in both sides are culprits of this. They preach constitutional purity when it suits them. And what I mean by that is what we're seeing is President Trump is utilizing the military with a limited campaign under Article 2 with congressional notification.
Yeah.
He's got a 60-day, paired with the War Powers Resolution Act, he's got a 60-day window, a limited window.
Yes.
And quite frankly, they've gone quite a bit towards success in what is an unprecedented operation. But Clinton did this with Kosovo. Obama did it with Libya.
He went into 8 countries. He struck 8 different countries.
And I can't remember if the right cried major foul on that, but the left is crying foul on this. So he has authorities under Article 2 with the War Powers Resolution Act and having notified Congress for a limited military objective when they believe there's an inherent threat against the homeland or our interests abroad. So, right now, Trump has displayed a moral coherence that other administrations, like you just brought up, Obama and Biden, you're a history buff, has shown you that appeasement never ends well. You're just kicking the can down the road. Trump, in my opinion, is moving forward with what should have been done.
Yeah, he's ripping the Band-Aids off.
But, in the status of the military campaign and where we're seeing technology beyond the employment of technology ever before, and we've always used technology to our advantage. We are the most technologically advanced military, which means our service members know how to employ, you always like to say, advanced weaponry and technology. It's the truth. We've seen a classic joint suppression and paralysis campaign in the early days. We've established air dominance over Iran, which allows you to move deeper into Iran to strike targets. This is now a systematic attrition. We've even seen Iran volleys or their military salvos, their missile salvos come drastically down. And this systematic attrition, and we have to have a little resilience, not resilience, but resolve and patience for this administration to continue for a few more weeks. Yeah. We've destroyed their ballistic missile production, their infrastructure, their
Navy
actual
fleet.
missile site. The Navy is interesting. So with the objectives of this campaign, regime change is nice to have, but it wasn't what I consider the primary lines of operation or the center of gravity. It was their ballistic missile capability, their nuclear proliferation, their air defenses, or anything aligned with regional projection of power to cause instability to the Middle East. And then, the Navy is a big component. The Iranian Navy was not designed as a state-on-state Navy, though it was one of the largest in the Gulf. It was specifically designed so that it was a maritime harassment force of probably the most strategic maritime shipping lane and also biggest choke point in the world, because 20 to 25% of LNG and crude oil flow through that. That's 1/5 of our energy source, which is having massive impacts on China, by the way. And this is part of the design. Removing Venezuela, which was a source of sanctioned cheap oil. Was it their number one or was it
Number one was Venezuela. Number 2 was Iran.
Yeah.
But we've just removed both their cheap sanctioned oil and, China, much like Japan in World War II, doesn't have domestic production like the United States, South America, or the Middle East. They import close to 70 to 75% of their oil. So this is they're sitting back watching this. But the IRGC's theory was they knew they had a very strong defensive posture. They knew they could never go state to state. Even if the Gulfs aligned, that would have been a rough war for Iran. The longstanding IRGC theory or doctrine was to cause instability to the region, to raise both the cost of the regional and global costs of the war. That's why we see them going after what we refer to in, soft targets, data centers,
oil refineries,
commercial, the financial district.
Absolutely.
That's why they've been hitting all the Gulf states, which will go down as one of the most strategic miscalculations, because for the first time in our history, we have a chance in Abraham's Accord 2.0 with the Gulf states aligning with Israel.
Yeah.
And economically and from a tech, because UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar all have a 2030 plan where they want massive foreign technology investment. Yeah. And this brings, if we have a less volatility in the energy market, we have more reliability. It sort of brings the multinational corporation risk appetite up to actually invest in the Middle East. And that's beyond freeing the Iranian people of this just evil oppression. It has those technology and global impacts. So I just wanted to hit that real quick for the viewers. But
no, you hit it on the head. You hit the nail on the head. This is many things, but ultimately, you both said this. This is needed because peace through strength isn't just a slogan, right? You have to exercise that as strength. So next time you say it, people would believe it. Now people believe it. We saw what we did in Venezuela. They're seeing what we're doing here. And I think I agree with you. The ultimate goal shouldn't be regime change because our military is not that. We're not there to go change regimes. But this would be the end result of what we're doing because the Iranian people are at this crossroad that they're already ready for this event. So this two happen to coincide at the same time. And that's what I think the end result is going to be, the regime change. And that's the lasting piece for not just Iran, but the whole region. You're right. Saudi wants to go to the 21st century. UAE wants that. Qatar wants that. Bahrain wants that. Kuwait wants that. Every rational person would want that. But you called it a miscalculation. I think it's just running out of place. What else?
End of days desperation.
Yeah. What else are they going to do? And I speak Farsi, so I listen to the Iranian TV. Their goal is
state TV?
Yeah. Iranian state TV. So the government's media. Yeah. Their goal is to raise oil to around 120 to 150. So the pressure on the Trump administration to end this campaign is in full force, and everybody's feeling the hurt at the gas pumps, the grocery stores. So he has no option but to be like, all right, my 60 days over, I'm a bail. But to add to what you said, he has 60 days to conduct this operation. Then he has 30 days to wind it down.
Withdraw.
That's if Congress tells them. Congress went to take a vote once. Senate went to take a vote once. Both of those attempts failed, right? So the checks and balances of our government are fully in function right now. The Congress and Senate both have the right to stop the president if he's overreaching, and they chose not to go that route and do that. So I think it's going to be, from my personal view, I think we're seeing the end of it. I think within the next few days. That's I said
of the campaign.
Of the campaign.
I disagree with you.
I was like, they have a lot of drones. It seems like they're using a lot of technology.
Number one supplier to Russia, Iran of drones.
Oh, really? The supplier to Iran is Russia of drones?
No.
The other way around.
Supplying Russia.
Really?
So they actually have IRGC in Russia assisting with their drone strikes. So Iran, and I now call Ukraine like the Silicon Valley for drones, and we've had the benefit of sitting back and watching. Our drone production within the United States has nowhere close to the drone capability of China or other countries, and we're ramping up production. But bro, I remember my guys starting to test the utilization of drones. They were ahead of their time. Do you know what drones we were using? DJI, which I think has been
fries or something.
No, yeah.
I don't know where you get those.
DJI is a massive Chinese drone company, but I think I think there's a law that's been passed that's outlawed DJI
use
drones.
Chinese drones now.
Everyone's getting into the drone markets. A lot of my former teammates have raised like easiest seed funding they've ever raised.
Yeah,
their first time out of the military, and drone warfare is increasing. But the implications of this, I think they will go longer. Right now, I think so. We've established air dominance over Iran, both for Israel and ourselves, as well as the Gulf states, because they're getting ready to strike. What it looks like now is this systematic attrition. We still have work to do. Is ISR overhead technology, plus precision strikes, plus rapid BDAs along multiple echelons in near real time. That does not happen without this integrated technology network that, in assistance with the private sector, DOD, or now DOW, or War Department, with the private sector. The private sector, we don't have a military without the innovation in collaboration with the tech sector.
Very true. Absolutely. So what's going on right now over there?
One thing I see during the last few days is the government within itself is fracturing. So there's three forces there. There's a military, there's a Basij, and there's a Sepah, RGC, and another.
Artesh.
Artesh is the actual military.
Yes.
Surprisingly, we haven't decimated them. We went after this.
And let me ask you that, because there's a belief, and you can validate this. IRGC was created after the Islamic Republic or the uprising.
Yes.
But the Artesh were traditional national militaries for regional projection. Is there a belief that they're not hardliners amongst the senior leaders in the Artesh?
From my view, yes. Granted, I don't mean their hands are fully clean. So let me say that again. Yeah. They're not the regime exactly to that extreme, because their hands is not dirty with the blood of the Iranian people or the outside
But
people.
they haven't done anything about it.
They haven't done. The Quds force is the force that did all the killing outside of Iran. The Basij and Sepah are the ones that did it inside. The military is state military. A lot of their assets were eliminated, but not their leadership. And strategically, what this tells me is we let the leadership stay in power for moments like this, where they can rise up internally and do something against the IRGC. And that's what the signs are telling me during the last few days. IRGC ranks are mostly eliminated at the top. So the roster keeps getting eliminated. They push it from the bottom to top, and they keep getting eliminated to the point now nobody wants to lead anymore. So when you have that fracture happen, you see they have posts everywhere inside of Iran. Like every city, every few blocks, there's a Basij force, there's a Sepah force. Those locations, people are not showing up for duty anymore. They see what's happening. Other locations are getting bombarded. First of all, the normal soldiers that used to run those locations, they're not coming there. The leadership is getting moved so much, there's nobody to tell them what to do, because as soon as they replace them, we keep killing them.
No, as we say, no coherent command structure anymore.
Yeah. So when you see those little fractures within the regime, and then to top that off, you have the local police department. These are blue uniform, black and white that we have here. They're mostly on the side of the people. They're not the ones that go tell the ladies, hey, your hair is showing, I'm gonna take you to jail. They're the ones that show up, somebody's house gets broken into. So you have the military that's armed. You have the local police department that's armed. If those two people, so let me back up a little bit. So the crown prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, he's the leading figure for the opposition. And he has open communications inside of Iran for months now, where people inside of the country, inside the military, the Basij, even Sepah, all of them, they can reach out to him, tell him and his team that we want to put down our gun, work with you guys. And last I was told, there is 100,000 people who signed up for this.
That are armed.
That are
wanting to be on the opposition side.
Yes. So every revolution, in my view, happens in the same steps. You push and you push and you push till the government tears itself down from the inside. Because if we are to go to the alternative theory on this government is not going to be gone unless we put boots on the ground. Something like this has to take place. And I've been praying for last 2-3 months, but the last few days, you see videos publicly, people in uniform making a video. Hey, that's my command center. It's empty and it's me and these two dudes. And we're done, bro. We're not fighting this fight anymore. This wasn't our fight anyway. Like, I don't want to be here. So God bless you guys. We're out. Those videos are coming out more and more. And I think it's going to get to the point that there is going to be probably tens of thousands of the IRGC forces that have no other option, because they have done so much evil shit in their life that they have to sit there and fight till last blood in their body's gone. And I'm okay with that personally. There's no revolution that's not with blood. They kill so many people. If that's their wish, they're not going to put their guns down. So be it. But I think we at that crossroad. And one other thing I have to add. I'm an American. I'm proud to be an American. I love this country, but we have to give credit to the Israeli government as well. Their military and their IDF and Mossad's communication inside of Iran has just been
incredible.
In the 12-day war, they eliminated, out of the 2012, immediately.
Well, just go back to the pagers. Remember, I mean,
Yeah.
like the Mossad has done so many things to disrupt what Iran was trying to do. I mean, now they have dentists. The Mossad has dentists that are working on the senior leaders of Israel and putting chips in their mouth so we could track them wherever they go. It's crazy what's
It's a
happening. Right?
human web.
Yeah.
Technology is changing the game of warfare, right?
You talk about patience. You do that pager operation. I believe last I read, that was a 7-year
Yeah.
operation in the making.
Yeah.
That is
And they
operational patience.
They were inside an Iranian government building when they were operating inside that, right? And people there just assumed that they were there for good intentions.
I don't trust them, Mossad, but they're crushing it.
Yeah, you don't have to trust them. But if you have somebody like that, you want them on your side.
Yeah.
Not on the other side. Like the nuclear program of Iran. This is during the Obama administration, I believe. They went there in the middle of the night to the nuclear agency, stole all their documents, took it to a different location, made copies, brought back the stolen document, put it back in the shelves so nobody knew what the hell happened until years later. Like, and so I watch the Iranian TV propaganda. I watch all IDF and Mossad communication. I watch our president and Secretary of War, and God bless Marco Rubio. That man is like doing 8 different jobs, talking about the Spanish taking American jobs. But
He's killing it.
he's killing it. But that communication, I heard that from one of the IDF leaders. This post is actually on Instagram that anybody can go look at it. He was telling the people of this one city, I don't recall on top of my head what it is, which city it was, but every one of their posts that they used 2 months ago to attack the people, every single one of them, every single one of the leaders in that city were all eliminated. The Crown Prince today put out a message that's in Farsi. I'm sure it has the subtitles that you guys can look at. He said, stay inside. The government, this is your last chance. Go to the platform I give you, sign up, put your weapon down, and the people wait for my call to action that's going to come soon.
And even Trump echoed that. Stay put.
that-
He told him in his 2 a.m. address last Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
or was it 2 Saturdays ago?
Yeah.
Stay put.
Yeah.
They're waiting.
The moment will come.
Yes.
And I think the narrative, if you watch the patterns are changing from like, hey, we're going to keep on dropping bombs to like, hey, get ready. It's your turn. Electricity is off in most of Tehran. Natural gas is off in most of Tehran. When people lose those, they tend to lose
Civil
communication.
unrest.
No, that's one aspect of it, but you lose communication. So if before all of Tehran goes dark, we have to send out, hey, come out to the street because there's no other way to communicate that with them. So I don't think we got to keep on dropping more bombs to the point that everything is decimated and then we can't get any message to Iran. Before we get to that point, I'm not saying that just because people rise up, we're going to stop dropping bombs. I think it's going to go to a different phase of this operation at that point.
Where is Iran from the opposition to the current regime? Like, is it 50-50? Is it 70% of the people
Are you
that
asking
live in
about the population? How many?
Yeah,
support?
like what
90-10.
It's
That's-
90-10.
That's what
90%.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, 90-10 are really focused
I would
on.
say 90-10, and out of that 10 is probably a 90-10 inside of that because 10%
are only
are
like
loyal because their family is inside of the government.
Or they're receiving a paycheck.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and
Same with the Ba'ath military for Iraq. They were just and same with guys. I hate to say this, but even Nazis,
yeah.
because somebody served in the Nazi military,
Mhm.
does not mean they were a hardliner. It was their
Yeah,
country.
no choice, or they would have
were
been
receiving
killed
a
too.
paycheck. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So of the 90% of the people that are for the opposition, are they still capable of going out and protesting right now?
Absolutely.
And what happens to them when they do? Are they getting slaughtered?
Yeah, unfortunately now that's the situation because the numbers are small. So every time they come out, they're not coming out like 2 months ago. 2 months ago, we saw tens of millions of Iranians come out in a span of like 5 days. Tens of millions all across Iran. In the country that's like 90 million population.
Hell,
when you
burnt
have
down
like,
one of the largest mosques.
yeah.
Holy
yeah.
sites in
Like 50, 60 mosques were burned in that few days. But that wasn't all against religion too, in all fairness,
it
because
was against the regime.
because the regime uses the mosque to hold weapons and troops there.
Okay.
If you're the Islamic Republic, I guess the House of God considers
It's your armory.
yeah.
Okay. So of those people that are protesting there now, are they at risk? I mean, you were telling me earlier that They're being told to stay put, stay in their homes, because if they leave their homes, they're more likely to be assaulted.
Well, no, the Crown Prince and President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu is telling them stay away from where we're gonna bomb. If this is my personal view, I think if every Iranian goes to the street right now, while the U.S. and Israel is dropping bombs, their chance of deaths, the chance of them dying by the hands of those bombs is less than them dying by the hands of the regime still.
Interesting.
So the regime still has the ability to oppress. And
of course, they see the light at the end of the tunnel, and they're going to fight till everything that they have is gone or somebody give them a leeway to flee. I think that door has already been closed.
Yeah. So that's also fanatical, despotic regimes.
Yeah.
Will hold on. They're willing to die for it.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I mean,
they will not release power.
Look, when we got done, there were still people in islands in Japan that were 30 years after World War II that were coming out to surrender. So, like, there's people that are going to dig in deep, right? So, what are we really looking at, right? So, we used, technology is what has moved the needle for what we're capable of doing from a national security and defense perspective. Technology has moved the needle for the people of Iran that are able to get communications up and down and sideways with multiple people, and you're able to get information from inside Iran, it sounds like right now, right? So we're using technology in ways that are going to have a massive impact on what's taking place right now from a military operation perspective as well, is the non-regime change, but the hopeful collapse of a oppressive regime that allows Iran to return to their best years, right? So before certain things, it looks like they were very westernized.
You ever see the video? I know you haven't. You've got the family that was alive. And the Shah was removed for a reason. But have you ever seen the pictures or the videos of the 60s?
Or the
early
70s.
70s?
Yeah.
In Iran?
It looked like an amazing place to go.
Mini skirts, the cars, the
very different culture.
The freedom.
We lived at was like 15 minutes from the Caspian Sea.
Mm-hmm.
My dad has pictures of this is like early 70s, I guess, when he was like out of high school. It's like, this is the beach and both sides are like vans, like the hipster vans from America, right? And everybody's at the beach drinking, having a good time, like bikinis, dudes are in like Speedos. And I was like, all right, nice. Y'all had fun on the weekends. He's like, nah. Those were all American and European people who were here as a tourist. And this is like a Wednesday afternoon. And I'm like, why are y'all out? He's like, well, business is closed at 2. We all went out and had fun. I was like, damn, how do you go from that to everybody's wearing a trash bag over their head when it's my turn? But God willing, that's the plan. But go back to the technology that you mentioned. I'm not a tech whiz like you guys. We are at this point because of how much advanced technology has gone into. Because internet is shut down, there's supposedly this app that people here that can connect to it, set up their computer, connect it to the internet, and somebody in Iran that doesn't have internet, but before the internet was shut down, they have this app. The internet from this computer in US makes that phone in Iran work.
Sort of like a VPN
Don't
network.
ask me.
Yeah.
I'm a dinosaur when it comes to using my phone. So part of this group that I'm helping out every time that they're doing events that honors our soldiers that are fallen here, they were telling me that like our computers at home are connected to this thing. That's what we were told, and we can see like, hey, person in this city, in this city, in this city is connected to our hub to communicate. Because otherwise the internet is shut down. How are people communicating? They're using systems that I don't understand. You guys are more of a tech whiz, but technology is a big aspect of it. The day before America attacked Iran, there was a text message that went to everybody in Iran that said President Trump is a man of his word. A day and a half before we attacked them. Everybody in Iran, including people in the government, got a text message saying in Farsi, President Trump is a man of his word.
Cyber, the space and cyber. It brings up a great point because a lot of people are making the contrast, and I understand it. You go with what you know. That this is another Iraq, that we're going to be bogged down in a 20-year war. I would love for you to talk about how Iraq and Iran is like comparing apples and oranges. And one, don't ever fight the last war. This is very different. You hit on it earlier. The education level within Iran is arguably more impressive than the United States. 89% literacy rate, which is higher than the United States. How is Iran different? Because they're more westernized, industrial, technologically advanced, modernized than Iraq ever was. What are those differences that people are getting wrong because they lack perspective? And I'll say there's been a lot of our brethren, veterans, who've hit social media of like, hey, this is another Iraq. And I've been pretty vocal to be like, hey, don't fight the last war. This is very different. I'd love for you to touch on that from your perspective.
So history repeats itself, right? But it doesn't repeat itself exactly the same every single time. They have every right to be pissed about what happened in Iraq. I'm pissed about what happened in Iraq. How many soldiers have we lost under false premises? And automatically people...
That's a different podcast.
Yeah, that's a different podcast. But automatically people go to that place of distrust when things like this happen. And the main difference that I want to point out is we don't have boots on the ground. I'm against putting boots on the ground. I'm for putting boots on the ground if it's my boot. Other Iranians that want to go. But American soldiers, American sailors, anybody in uniform with American flag on his shoulder, I'm personally against it. President Trump is against it. Secretary of War is against it. There's nobody that's saying that's going to happen now or later.
Political suicide. On top of the loss of life, which would be tragic because that would be an ugly fight. But I think you'll probably agree.
Absolutely.
That would be a strategic.
I agree. So that's reason one that this is not Iraq. That's reason one. When we took out Saddam Hussein in Iraq, there was not a leading figure that was taking his place. Everything just went into chaos. Iran has that. Iran has Reza Pahlavi. Reza Pahlavi is the crown prince of Iran. He's the son of the late Shah. And in 47 years, I'm not pushing for monarchy or any of that, but in 47 years, this man has proven that he understands what liberty means and he understands what acting like a human means at the same time. And the way I see Reza Pahlavi playing out in this equation is that he's the Hamilton of America. There's a lot of similarity between what's happening in Iran right now and what the American Revolutionary War was. We didn't fight the British by ourselves, did we? The French were there. Yorktown is a huge example of that. America is playing the role of what French did for us in that Revolutionary War. And the reason I say Reza Pahlavi is like Hamilton, I don't think countries become free when you get rid of a dictator. It's what you replace it with. And I'm not saying the monarchy is what you replace it with. I'm talking about the Constitution, which you replace it with. He's that guy that could sit down and form an ideology that's connected to our ethnicity and history that goes back as far as Cyrus the Great. First Declaration of Freedom was written by Iranian king 2,600 years ago. And I believe Reza Pahlavi has the same mindset. When you have somebody with that same mindset, let's say he's the first president, let's say he's a monarch without power, but ultimately, if he writes a document, a constitution that gives Iranian people the same liberties that me and you have here, to gather and talk about our views, to carry weapons while we're doing it, to go serve your country and come back here and go into technology. This is what, I said this earlier, Constitution of America is what makes America great. The first 10 years of our existence, we were struggling a little bit. The Federalist movement changed all of that. I think a lot of Iranian, especially, we want people like to be stronger. We want a George Washington at this moment. But I disagree. I think we need somebody like Reza Pahlavi with a cool mind and composed mindset. Because when this is falling, tomorrow's future of Iran defines not just Iran, but the Middle East. What do we do to the people that serve the current governments? Are we going to do what they did and do mass murdering of 1 million Iranians who work within the Iranian government? There has to be a person that has rationale and humanity within his senses.
You got to stop the chain of violence.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest factor that everybody in America needs to realize, because millions of Iranian people are risking their life chanting his name from their balconies while being shot at. The mindset of the Iranian people have changed. The mindset of the dynasty family has changed. And when you have this many heart and mind change, the outcome is not going to be the same as Iraq. You're not dealing with something else completely different. So my hope is in the Iranian people. My hope is who is leading them. My hope is in all these people, President Trump, Prime Minister Netanyahu, that are working together, not separately. And as Americans too, we come to realize, I think, this go around, who our friends are and who is there just to act like they're our friends. I think you both know who I'm talking about, the French and the British. I'll say it.
Well said.
Trump said it just recently too.
Yeah.
I don't think Reza has any notions that he'd be stepping in to replace the monarchy. He has been overt about saying he would like to serve as the interim
prime minister, or is he trying to be a crown prince?
The interim
transition
leader to ultimately get to free and democratic elections for the Iranian people. It's not to say he couldn't put his name in the hat to run as president, but I agree with everything you said. Have you ever heard the story of Reza? So he was actually in the United States. I think he was going through F-14 training.
Yeah.
Here in the United States when his father, the Shah, was overthrown. So he has not returned to his homeland. If he even tried, he'd be murdered the second he stepped off the taxiway. So, you've got a guy who loves his country, he loves his people, and he's just trying to get back to open the pathway to a free and democratic government.
And the only person standing in his way is the Ayatollah, the past Ayatollah's son.
Well, yeah,
who was just nominated.
That's the weird part for a regime to be against monarchy and then crown the son of the dude that was just whacked.
Nepotism never works.
Yeah, so it's the same. But he's not the only one that's standing in his way. We haven't seen Mujtaba since he was announced the supreme leader of Iran. That's my personal view. I have no evidence for this. I believe that he was assassinated in the first few days of the operation and then named a dead guy so Israel and U.S. cannot find who to kill next. I think this is a distraction. Really? Because his whole family was killed. How do everybody in that building that they were in gets assassanated, but not him? So
you don't even think he's alive?
I don't, because if he was, they would have brought him out. They would have shown a footage of him. They showed one footage that was
millions of
generated.
People in Tehran, chanting for that guy yesterday, I thought.
No. It wasn't millions.
Oh, okay.
It was few thousands. And the videos that you see out of Iran, you can't, especially if it comes by the regime, you put that through edit detectors, and it will show you exactly where they're multiplied.
Fake crowds.
Yeah, and the crowd was there. It was probably in tens of thousands. They do have supporters. I'm not saying they don't. There's crazy people everywhere.
Yeah. It brings up a great point. This is one of the scars of technology because people are jumping to assumptions. What are we, 13 days into this?
Something like that.
So people are jumping in, trying to jump to conclusions, why? Because we have access to information almost nonstop. So with a war like this, or any war, there's propaganda on both sides. There's limited information disclosure. There's inaccurate BDAs. And so naturally the media, which can sometimes be the biggest harm to any effort, people are filling spaces with inaccurate information. And it's just, that's a natural, what do you call it? The Goldilocks?
Too hot, too cold, just right. Yep.
One of the negative impacts of technology is people want information, they want it now. And we all know in the battlefield, information is the first casualty. So, and I get it from our government too. You're going to withhold information because you don't want the enemy. If it hits media, you can for sure count that the IRGC is going to get that information. I do want to make a leap because this also goes into a technology play, but it also goes into domestic security, sleeper cells.
Ooh. And
we know, and we don't have to hit it, let's just say across multiple administrations, well, predominantly the open border
open border has flooded it, right?
Yeah.
So the chances of having sleepers are massive right now.
Hamas, Hezbollah, IRGC, China, North Korea. There's intel that shows that there are sleeper cells for all of those organizations because it's part of their
tens of thousands
long-term strategy to not defeat America in a one-on-one fight, which they know most would lose. It'd be bloody even if we went with China. It's that if they can control our society, they can defeat us from within. But we've had two attacks, one here in Austin, we call Lone Wolf, self-radicalized. And then there was one in New York.
There were two in New York. I actually have the video of the guy who's a white liberal man standing out with a microphone protesting people. And he was pro-Muslims and we need more immigrants from Islam to come into our country, and just then over his head, one of those militants had thrown a handmade grenade or explosive device right over his head. And I mean, like, you couldn't even time that. This guy's up here protesting, saying we need more Muslim immigrants, white guy. And just then somebody who's a Islamist extremist was throwing IEDs at him.
And the bombs did not go off.
No,
Correct?
they didn't.
Okay.
Thank God.
But we're going to see more of that. So, like, what's your concern regarding sleeper cells?
Right before I came here, there was a news alert that the van rammed the White House gates on Friday. Oh, yeah.
Wonderful.
Right before I came, the White House was in lockdown. So it goes back further, in my view, than the last 4 years of Biden administration. You're absolutely right there.
Open borders
The
killed
border
us.
was wide open. Anybody and their mother
Military-age
came
males
through.
from North Korea, everywhere we're
But
born in.
even during the Obama administration, whenever that agreement was done, we gave green card to about 2,400 government officials from Iran. It was part of the deal. We gave them papers in part of that deal.
You're talking IRGC.
Well, not directly IRGC, government officials.
Okay.
I don't know if it was all IRGC members, but we gave Iranian government officials green cards. And when you do that, they can legally bring money here. So the sleeper cells by themselves is one thing, but then when you add a sleeper cell with finance here, that's a recipe for disaster. Because I mentioned earlier too, the RGC, the Trump administration done this flawlessly as much as possible. We took out Maduro in Venezuela. Venezuela was a hub for RGC and Hezbollah to move funds around. So all the cartel, all the drug dealer was using the terrorist fund network to move funds around. So with that in mind, any rational person will look at the connection between the drugs that's being moved from Venezuela to Mexico and know that there's a connection to the Mexican cartel. If you have connections to the Mexican cartel, how many of those are here? So it's not just the Iranians, not just the Russians, not just the Chinese. And the Chinese are huge because I wrote a few pieces criticizing the CCP in media about how they were treating the Uyghur Muslims and the Falun Gong crowd. And within days, I was doing business here in Texas. People that I was doing business with, they would reach out to me. They're like, hey, what did you do? I'm getting calls. Who are you getting calls from? Oh, did you piss off the Chinese? It's bad for business. I'm a nobody. I just wrote a few articles. Like, how fast do you get to me? Then you see them showing up at your gym, going out of your house. There's like Chinese people that I've never seen before. So like they're here, and if they have to roll up their sleeve and intimidate someone who is a veteran, who works in the government, well, not officially in the government, but I work in politics, they didn't fear to come put the fear of God in my face. They're here. And the Islamic Republic are here. The Russians are here. And when you have 4 years of this border being open, imagine how many other people came into it.
Sure.
So it's like,
I've received two death threats, multiple calls, because I've been vocal since October 7th about Palestine and calling Iran the cancer of the Middle East. But I've received multiple calls. It says Palestine when you receive it, or it says Tehran.
he came from there?
Oh, yeah. That's just the power of the just massive social media communications network that we've created, is that everyone can be touched.
Reached.
Yeah.
And of course, I didn't tell my wife, and she doesn't watch my shit anyways. So we're good.
No, just a few days ago, I have people that reached out to me. They're like, hey, be careful. When was it? Sunday evening. Our city college was like, hey, be careful where you go. I think all of us veterans, we're always careful. I don't think we can
means we're
go
packing.
in a place.
I was gonna, do you carry?
Yeah,
In
of
Texas?
course,
Yeah, so do we. Right
Texas.
here.
Yeah, no.
Not in the office, of course.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable.
Right now, no.
But yeah, there's a lot of crazy people out there. And if you're out there like us, I mean, like I get haterade, as you said, right? So like talking about this, even this podcast itself will probably be dialed down by YouTube just because the nature of the topic that we're talking about. That maybe I asked the marketing team, like, why do they do that? And they're like, well, maybe we're close to an election cycle, so they're trying to throttle things back. I don't know, but we're going to continue to have open dialogue and unleash all this stuff. And if people are going to be willing to listen, we're going to let them know, like, this isn't just like Iraq. This is quite different. And what's happening right now is amplifying or highlighting the demand of technology. And the reason why it's important to me is because in 2023, we lost 2 projects in this country due to people protesting what data centers should be doing in their neighborhood. Some of those protests are maybe justified. The following year, we lost 4. Last year, we lost 25 programs in this country due to people protesting the need for data centers. Most of those people that are protesting the needs for data centers are people that are massive users of AI and cloud services. So they use those technologies, but they don't want data centers. The reality is we're talking about the demand of data centers from a national security perspective now. We couldn't go do what we did in Iran without huge technology capabilities, right? And technology is going to continue to hopefully make these incidents that take place less risky to humans. We're still going to have humans as a byproduct of this that are going to be getting hurt because of the national security decisions that are being made. But technology is going to be removing, hopefully, a lot of the risk to humans in making these campaigns not so long, right?
Long range standoff precision.
Yeah,
munitions.
hopefully.
I've not seen, but I think this was talked about while the protests were going on. There hasn't been much reporting on Starlink.
I haven't heard of that.
Starlink is active in Iraq.
Over Iran.
Yeah.
Since the protests.
Yeah, so the 12-day war, when it happened, they did the same thing. They shut down the internet, and God bless Elon. He moved proactively, and I believe there's a correlation between SpaceX and the Israeli government because they can smuggle stuff into Iran. You can't just go online and buy the system for it, and the Iranian government be like, "Oh, here you go." When we shut the internet, go talk to the foreigners. I think the Israelis already moved those systems inside of Iran. So first day of protest that they shut down the internet, Elon automatically turned it back on free of charge. I've been told that some iPhones work with satellite too now. The new ones, I don't understand the science behind that either. But going back to the stuff that you just mentioned right now, do you see facilities being built in Iran that does the same role that you guys are playing, like the data centers that are here? Do you see that being built overseas as well? Or when you say like the potential growth for it, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, fair question. So I think that what you see is emerging technologies that are being adopted throughout multiple different countries, multiple different cultures. And I think that when you get to the part of where you're having a change in the community or the society of Iran, they're going to adopt technologies over there. And when they do, they're going to need data centers over there too, right? And their capabilities and limitations of what they can do from a technology basis will be predicated on their limitations of technologies, horsepower. And these data centers are the sky for the cloud. They're the home for AI. We're using cloud right now just to have this, right? So I think that for Iran to get to the part where they're going to join the rest of the Middle East from a technology basis, if they're going to get to where the UAE is, as an example, they're going to have to build data centers like the UAE has. I mean, I've built one in the Gulf. I built in the Silicon Oasis of Dubai, right? And
nice.
And those data centers will service other parts of the Middle East. We built in Qatar, right? So there's going to be programs that are adjacent to maybe Iran, and eventually, depending upon who wins, the crown prince, the Ayatollah's son, or somebody in the middle, they're going to determine what they want Iran to use. And if they want to empower Iran, they're going to have to give them technology. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And they're not going to get it without data centers.
The same reason, and there's multiple projects going on in the Middle East. I mean,
for sure.
And it also has U.S. national security implications as well.
That's why we're talking about it.
But that's why I was asking in that sense, because I've seen a lot of people float the idea that you could put data centers in the space.
Yeah, that's a pitch in the dirt. We don't swing at that bullshit right now.
No. But are you talking about like our data centers functioning in a country like Iran possibly? That was
they? Yeah, they certainly can, because we build them modularly. Like, try to imagine the way that we would support countries like that is we would just build modular data centers in a box and deploy them as whole and just find a way to plug them into water and power.
It's not good. They need to.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, Reza is probably having conversations with the hyperscalers about.
That's the good thing that he has done. He has formed a committee, basically like what a Congress functions here already abroad.
Business
So like when
leaders.
Iran,
But the focus
found-
has to be on infrastructure, right? Data centers fall within the infrastructure rank. So when they rebuild the infrastructure of Iran, they're going to have to build technology capabilities within that infrastructure, right? So
of course,
if Iran's going to play at the world level and, regain their position that they were at 50 years ago, where they're an open society with liberty and freedoms, they're going to have to give freedom and technology to their citizens. So I would love to see every nation in the Middle East adopt emerging technology. Sadly, if you were to take America, put it over here, take every other country outside of the United States and add up all of their data centers together, and it's still a lot less than what we have in America. So there's a lot of room to grow, right? Because the places that we are manufacturing components for data center are China and India, which is the least regulated part on the earth. And we're building more data centers in Europe, which is the most regulated part on earth. I mean, the regulations in Europe will strangle innovation. But the Middle East is a whole new emerging place. So is Africa, right? So we're going to find places there where we can bring those communities into the future, right? If you look at where AI is adopted throughout the world, there's patches where it's completely grayed out or whited out where they don't have any AI, period, right? So we're going to continue to evolve as humanity does, and technology is going to be adopted for national security and defense, the creation of energy and the way we distribute it, and healthcare. And those are things that are all going to be important to whoever comes into Iran next. They're going to be focused on rebuilding the infrastructure that allows them to have a stable form of energy, which will be hopefully used to build technology. In addition to that, they're going to have something that brings better healthcare to their communities, and that's going to be through the form of technology. Imagine what happens today in America when you go to an NFL city that is loaded to the teeth with technology, and you have an emergency and you go in the emergency room. Those doctors are using iPads to get back into technology that'll diagnose and solve problems and save lives. Why can't we adopt that technology throughout other parts of the world? And it's because they don't have the engines to support the demand of technology. Those engines are called data centers, right? So what we're talking about is how data centers are used for us. We're the consumers driving eyeball content, video caching, and adopting, apps. But the reality is now with what we've seen happen in Iran, we've realized this technology stuff, they could protest that, and the NIMBY protesters can protest those data centers anywhere they want to now. But you said it best. It sounds like they sent a text to everyone in Iran that says Donald Trump is a man of his word. He's going to get these hyperscalers here in the United States to not only build their own energy, we're going down that path. They're going to use less water or recycled water or water that doesn't hurt the potable water tables. And we're going to continue to build these things in a way that has an impact on everyone around us, including these groups like what we're seeing in the Middle East right now. This technology is a national security technology now. It's the primary use of AI will be for national security and defense. It's the most advanced weapon, machine, and tech ever built. So all the protesters to this technology we're gonna listen to them because we have to have a better relationship with these.
That's
communities.
our next podcast. Is Claude versus the War Department. But it sounds like it's been settled.
Yeah.
But here's what I'll say, and there's a reason behind this. One, Iran has no shortage of energy.
Yeah.
So that's a condition.
It does have a shortage of water, though.
Yeah, so that was another one that Infantry shows that the reservoir, that's been a major issue for Tehran. And even the Israeli assistance on rebuilding the economy will be used. And they had a relationship under the Shah. But here's why I say this. Could you imagine a world in Iran where they have emerging technology, access, and autonomy? The reason I say that is every good Persian American I'm friends with, they are diehard capitalists. That country, now give it time, it's going to take time to build that infrastructure, will be a powerhouse alongside Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE. 20 years from now, Iran can be one of those countries. And probably, in terms of advancing technologies and innovation, could give a run for the Gulf states'
I agree.
reputation.
President Trump said it the best: "Make Iran great again." And I think that's the mentality that not just Americans should all embrace. Make America great again. It's not just a slogan. Make America great again. Make Iran great. Make Afghanistan great. If all these countries are great, imagine the growth potential for not just them, not the region, us too. Everything is a domino. If you don't have to waste our energy and money go fighting these idiots in Iran, we could invest that time and energy in somewhere that's productive for the whole world. So Imagine that domino effect, that compounded growth for 20 years, like you said.
You know what I hear when you say that? Less war.
Less war,
And
peace, yeah.
I'm about that.
I see it's like a Goldilocks moment for Iran, right? Where, maybe while your father was there and everyone was still running around with bathing suits on, that was maybe just a little too hot for them. And then they had this whole period with an Ayatollah where it was a little too cold for them.
But
this is a period where it could be just right.
It was Marxism. It was socialism. It's the same thing that America is struggling with right now. I promise you. Iran did not become a religious radical in 79. Iran was sold the idea of free gas, free electricity, free bread. Look how much oil the country is bringing in. It should all be yours, people. That was the dream that was sold to them. Same dream that being held. Oh, education should be free. Healthcare is a right. Universal income. It's the same bullshit idea that was sold to them that's being sold to Americans right now. That's why I had to stop you, because it pisses me off so much. You sell lies. KGB was running the Iranian mullahs in the 70s. So U.S., as soon as Nixon was out of office, all of our attention went to internal stuff in the U.S. Then we were like, all right, let them figure it out. Not realizing KGB is putting their claws all up in Iran with the same Marxist ideology that being told here. Go to a college in America. You can't hit a rock and not hit a commie. Like, find 10 people and there's 2 commies in the middle of them. That same mindset is here. That's what worries me, because like you said, there are people protesting your data center. Who's paying those protesters?
It's funny you asked that. Well, right now with us in a big head-to-head war, it's a cloud war between us and China really right now. And we're hurting China's ability to get energy, which is what's necessary to grow and advance your AI. So taking away their number 1 and number 2 energy provider is a big deal to them. From a report I got this week, it looks like China is helping fund some of the NIMBY protests. The only way to slow us down on our advancement of AI is to help promote and stir the pot. So there are 2 opposing forces outside of most of the NIMBY protesters are like me, where they just don't trust people and they don't believe in what people are telling them. Take a number.
That's reasonable.
Right, fair enough. But so they're literally worried about data centers becoming consumers of their energy or being consumers of all their utility, including water. And now we're trying to build it to where data centers are partners to the communities, and we're putting enough power on the grid that we could reinforce the grid. We're also moving to a design where we don't use water, right? So we're trying to become less burdensome on the infrastructure and the communities that we live in. So those are people that are protesting these data center projects because they're like, look, you're just going to come here and build something, be gone. It's not going to create jobs. I mean, when we started in this industry all throughout the United States, many states were paying incentives and giving abatements or incentives to companies to go build data centers in their states. Now you see the opposite. And a lot of those people are environmentalists like me that are worried about energy and water. But there are 2 other camps of people that are helping stir and promote the NIMBY protests that we see today. Believe it or not, it looks like in a couple of those markets, it's other data center operators themselves. There's large data center developments that are coming in, and they don't want another competition so close to theirs for natural reasons of business, plus the labor force is at strain. So there are people that have a data center project underway in one market, and they may be contributing to the protests of other data centers that are coming to that market. How crazy does that sound? But the other part is, it's highly likely and incredibly possible that the Chinese government is helping influence these protesters, because they know if they could stop 25 data center projects in the United States, that's the equivalency of stopping 25 of their projects with energy. And when we take away their energy, we're slowing down China's production of AI. And if they stop our data centers here in the United States from being built, that's also contributing. So there's 3 real parties that are promoting the NIMBY protests. Those that are genuinely, sincerely caring about the environment may be operating on outdated information, and that's our own fault as an industry, and we got to fix that. But shame on us if we have competitors of the industry that are stirring the pot and now letting China have an influence on how we build data centers by helping promote these grassroots campaigns that are protesting the way that we use power, land, and water. So we can't afford to slow down what we're doing on data centers, because now what we're seeing is without technology's capabilities, and we are 100 years away from where the automobile was in 1926, we are where we at in AI, where the automobile industry was, and we were still building Model Ts until 26. So what I'm saying is we're still early stages, and we have to get a handle on all this stuff. But there are people that protest for legitimate reasons, and then people that are being fed and guided to protest in a way that's more disruptive to us, because we need America to keep building these data centers so that our military can continue to go do what it's doing and provide national security to our homeland.
Even more so, it's the advancement of technology production. Everything. It's huge. You want to close this out?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would close it out by trying to bring this one home by simply maybe starting back with you and be like, what do you want people that are listening to hear? And what do you think that they should think? You're an Iranian, you were born there, you served in our country in the military here, and you're actively engaged in politics as a refugee. And now there's people that don't understand what's going on over in Iran. What do you want them to know? Do you think that this is a reckoning that's healthy in the long term? Do you think this is something that we're going to come through this and Iran's going to be a better nation, a healthier nation, a stronger partner of America as a byproduct of this? What do you envision?
And then finally, where people can find you.
Yeah.
And before you get that, I think I speak for both Kirk and I. Can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your perspective, a perspective that's actually lived and walked the walk within Iran. I don't think you've changed my perspectives because we all share a common thread, the uniform, and we've known what it is, but you've given us more insight to the history and a better understanding from the perspective of the Iranian people. And I hope more Americans listen to this, just even if they have a different viewpoint, just to learn more about that perspective. So I just wanted to say thank you as you close it out.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate both of you guys for having me, and having a different view is okay. That's what makes America great again, right? If you all believed in the same thing, we would be like robots.
How boring would that be?
Don't take my word. Don't take anybody's word. Listen to everybody. Look at everything yourself. We as human beings, I said this earlier, we have a sense to rationalize. Look at everything, read everything yourself, and make that judgment for yourself. I think everybody, just on this issue, every issue, we have that responsibility. We blame social media, we blame the legacy media. Everybody has a role to play, but each one of our role is to be the captain of our own lives. Nobody can come back 5 years down the road and be like, oh, I was a flaming liberal because CNN told me to. Nah, you're a human being. Use the brain that God gave you. But ultimately, when it comes to this situation, I'm a firm believer of the Bible, of Christ. And I think all of this is already being said in the book. In the book of Jeremiah, it talks about Elam. Elam is modern day Iran. The Lord says, I will destroy the leadership and destroy Elam. And in the next verse, it says, I will rebuild my throne there and bless it and prosper it. I think history works in little loops that are like, when you get down into it, after Elam was destroyed from the book of Jeremiah, there's a king that comes out of that same area, a Persian king named Cyrus the Great. By the time he comes up, Jews are in slavery in Babylon. The same Jewish Bible wrote about Cyrus 150 years before he was born. He's the only Gentile in the Bible that's called the Anointed One of God. He comes to power, conquers Babylon, frees the Jews, gives them enough gold and silver to go back home and rebuild the temple. Follow me there? They go and do that. When Christ is born, the three wise men that when he was born showed up, Zoroastrian, Iranian, Magi's, is connected again. When Israel come to exist after World War II, Iran was the first nation in the Middle East, the first Muslim country that accepted them. During the World War II, Iran was taking Jews as a refugee during that time. But Israel came to exist. 79, Iran loses its leg in the world and Islamic took over. 47 years later, we saw the same people that Cyrus helped out of slavery come and help to give Iranian people the opportunity to be free. We all have our role to play, and I think everybody's doing their best, but ultimately I think it's in God's hand. This story has been written. That's where my hope comes from. And when you have that much history behind what you think is happening, there's a peace that comes with it. No matter you're an American or Iranian, this is just stressful for both sides. If you letting it get to your head and confuse you, go to the book. The comfort comes from there. And that's what I want to tell everybody. The hope is in God and Christ. And when you put that at the forefront of everything you do, not much can go wrong. So I appreciate you guys.
What do you think, man? Do you think that half YouTube will dial this one down, throttle
Just
this one down?
religion? Yeah, probably. But hey,
it's all right. Who
that
cares?
that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? And I think we want to close out with one more thing.
Brian Taef.
How do you spell that?
Brian. Last name is T as in Tom, A as in Alex, E as in Edward, F as in Fox.
Got you.
Same tag everywhere.
Got you.
Grindr, Instagram,
yeah,
LinkedIn.
OnlyFans.
That was the main one.
I think it's worth saying, and I know we'll all agree, one, thoughts and prayers out to the Iranian people during this time. And for all the ones that have been lost in just this needless violence and oppression. But additionally, we are American, and we've lost 7 service members who I've no doubt knew they were on a noble and just pursuit.
They're
nearly
heroes.
History.
And still got punched.
To their families, I think nothing we say here can assuage that pain that they're going through. Hopefully, they can be wildly proud of what their young men and women stood for and what they died for, which is basically they gave their tomorrow for our today, and we want our listeners to understand that. And I think I feel like I'm more educated, more enlightened now.
And I hope that the people that are listening hopefully this opens the aperture for you all, and you get to understand from the eye or the mouth of a person that came from this world and understands what's happening. They're probably better than most. I'm sure you have a ton of family there still, right? So, and thanks, Mike, for saying what you said. Brian, thanks for being here. I'd close it with simply this. God bless our soldiers, sailors, and airmen that are out in harm's way. Thank you for all of you that are standing on the watch right now so we could sit here and have conversations like that. And I ask you to share this one, send it with your friends, and we should be having these types of conversations because the technology that we're behind is having global impacts right now. And I think that the people that are listening that are in this industry, they're like, man, I just built data centers, or I just I add a component or a level of services. What we are building is having a massive impact on humanity right now. And from the perspective of just national security, which is the focus of this podcast, it's having an impact on national security, and you're seeing it in the country that you came from now. So thank you for being here, Brian.
Thank you guys, Bob.
Thanks, Mike, for being on the podcast. This is a good one. Safe travels back to where you came from.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Bob.